How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle Rowlett, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. So, we are still a few days away from the official release, official everything, for Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. It's officially supposed to be out, in the public in about 3 days. I'll be able to play it in 2 days, because of, mainly because I bought it on a different region and whatnot, so I'll be able to play it earlier, due to that, but that's besides the point, guys. So, what do we have for here today? Well, basically, there are now reviews. Now, I will say it right at the start of this video. If you don't want to listen to me, look through these reviews, give my input on what they have to say, because I haven't played the game yet. I'm still waiting for it. I'll have my own review once I get the game. And keep in mind, some of these reviews are from websites that, they're very well connected with Nintendo and all this stuff, and also sites that have given really awful games good reviews in the past. So just keep in mind, look at it objectively, right? I would check out, reviews from for more, YouTube personalities and that sort of stuff, not just YouTube people, but, just check out, even YouTube people are kind of hard, because some of the YouTube people work with Nintendo. I would just say, look around and get generally an informed opinion, go into streams of, people who aren't big YouTubers, and ask in the section, comment section, hey, what's up, how does this game feel to you, do you like it, any opinions, simple, quick rundown of what you feel about it, that sort of stuff. Let's actually look at the reviews roundup here, though, and what they have to say, because there's quite a lot. Now, there is a really big review, a review here from, Eurogamer, and Eurogamer is a website that I can respect them. They have some generally, good thoughts and opinions. They have some good writers as well. Sometimes, depends on. Sometimes their writers can be a little bit iffy, but, it's really a 50-50 gamble at this point. At least it's better than Kotaku or some shit, but either way, let's look at the actual, Poke Jungle post right here, which basically has a Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee review roundup. Now, the reviews are in and they don't seem too bad. Now, the first one is IGN, which you never trust IGN when it comes to reviews. Never. These are the same people that plagiarized other people's reviews of games. I would not trust them. Just because one guy did it, whatever, they're a pretty, scuffed company, so I wouldn't trust them with this sort of stuff. It's freaking IGN, you know what I mean? But they said here, powerful friends and new mechanics make for a delightful return to the Kanto region in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. That's kind of like a quote from the article, and they gave it 8.3 out of 10. Nintendo Life, which is a big Nintendo website, of course, directly connected with Nintendo at this point, I would say, says, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee are beautiful reimagined. Keep in mind, by the way, all these companies, they got review copies, so just keep that in mind. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee are beautiful reimaginings of a video game classic, updating a 20-year-old game in ways which make it infinitely more accessible and user-friendly for a modern audience, while keeping the magic first discovered all those years ago. On the downside, the newly introduced motion control mechanic is fun but flawed, forcing us to shift from one playstyle to another to get the best experience. And while efforts have been made to bring the game up to standard of more recent entries when it comes to depth and complexity, hardcore fans may consider the whole experience too much of a cakewalk. So yeah, that is true right there. When it comes to depth and complexity, hardcore fans may consider the whole experience too much of a cakewalk. Which it seems to be true based on what the gameplay I've seen, because people are playing this shit. People are on Twitch playing this game already, so there are people actually already playing it, and everybody seems to say that, yeah, the game is somewhat easy. The game is not somewhat, but very easy. And also, according to Joe Merrick, the game is literally broken, in the sense that you can essentially get the highest stats possible in every regard, attack, defense, speed, everything, on every single Pokemon, just using candy, because there is no limit to it. There's no level threshold. You can have a level 16 Pokemon destroy a level 70 Pokemon. Just saying. But let's continue here. So, the PC Trusted Reviews says it's a 4 out of 5. Game Freak has pulled a Hannah Montana and found the best of both worlds here. A solidifying experience that embraces newcomers without forgetting the hardcore that will be itching to dive in. See, this is where I feel like they're kind of, everybody keeps saying, what about these games is meant for the hardcore audience? Because there clearly isn't much for the hardcore audience. There seems to be a lack of that, but it is what it is. Maybe this isn't really, whatever. If it's not meant for a hardcore audience, just don't say it's meant for a hardcore audience. Just say it's a nostalgic thing, right? Because that's what it is. The only people who are from the hardcore side, may play this for, if they're really hardcore and they just want the same kind of experience we have in the past from Pokemon, from the past, they may play this because of nostalgia mainly. And I think that's what these games are banking on. They're banking on the older fans just buying this for the sake of nostalgia, and newer fans buying it because, oh, look, it's cute little monsters, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But let's continue here. So the Telegraph says, if experienced hands go in, experienced hands go in knowing what to expect, there's still a great deal to enjoy here. Even if you could lop a star off the score up there, but Let's Go is more for another generation. Well, that's fair enough. Destructoid gives it a 7.5. Wow, that's a lower rating. Wow, you know, I mean, hey, that's, lower rating. Interesting. Thank you very much for, I'm just messing with you. But I want to see what they actually have to say, because it seems like at least they might have like some other information here. Mechanical talk aside, I think everyone is going to fall in love with Let's Go's aesthetic. Kanto is a delightful Arcadia and has never looked this good. Well, that's undeniable, because, it's a 3D Kanto versus a 2D Kanto in the past, right? It's kind of hard to not make it, look way more delightful, which I agree. The world does look beautiful in the game. I'm not denying that. I've always said, like, the Let's Go games do look pretty darn good. And I appreciate that. I really do. It seems like they did take some time with making the world, though again, there still is this kind of, like, grid-based walking and grid-based kind of system in the game, which is really just needs to go. Like, they really need to open up the game a bit more instead of keeping it in grids and making the whole world in grids. That's just like been a problem with Pokemon for a long time. I think they need to move away from that, because you can see it from like when NPCs walk, right? They walk like straight forward and then, like that. Like they walk like this, and it's just not a good like. It doesn't look good. It kind of like drags you out of the experience, out of the world, and that sort of stuff. This is just something that's been an issue for Pokemon with 3D in general, because their transition to 3D was something brand new to them. They'd been working with 2D for several years, over a decade at that point. So it was kind of a new thing for them. And I feel like now with Gen 8, maybe they'll move away from that and kind of make it more dynamic when characters move around and not just like very staticky, which is kind of what my problem is. But VG247 says positive. Back when I played a very limited slice of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee at E3, I concluded that it likely be pleasing players who went in knowing and accepting what it is, a simpler, cutesy spin-off and not the next main entry in the series. What surprised me most about the reviewing it is that I hadn't fully made peace with the fact that I hadn't fully made peace with that that fact, and yet I love this game anyway. Something that's arguably a testament to how well it's executed on its vision. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, I'm hoping I'm gonna enjoy this game. I'm really hoping I'm gonna enjoy it. The only thing though is, from based on like the things I've seen from non-reviewers here, from just people who are playing the game, who aren't working for some website, they're saying that the game is fun, but the problem is it's just easy. And what I mean by easy is, it's to the point where you literally can ignore catching Pokemon. You can just skip that part of the game and just get through the game, just battling the trainers, and you can get all the levels you need because it's so easy to level due to the fact that you have EXP share, right? So that part of the game, you can kind of, if we're talking in terms of completing the game, it's easy to complete the game. Now, on the other hand, though, it could be slightly harder in other regards, but that really depends on how you look at it. So I'll see once the game comes out and once I play it myself. If it ends up being hard, then guess what? I was wrong, and good job, Game Freak. And I'll tell it honestly in the review. I was wrong. The game was way better than I expected. But so far, based on what I've seen from people who aren't, reviewers from websites, it does lack a little bit of difficulty, which is understandable. It's meant for, children. It's meant to be like an introduction to the new generation of kids and whatnot. I get it, but I still feel like, you could have kept some of that oomph in there. But it's fine. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's okay. That's all I want to get across. It's okay. While many have commented on the simplicity, it is clear that a lot of love was put into these pair of games, and it will serve as a great entry to the series for younger fans. For those of us who are more experienced, it seems like a good way to relax and enjoy an updated Kanto, as well as our first Pokemon RPG on the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, there are people down here, saying things. We just kill the little LGB hype, the LGPE hype there is when it comes out. Just for like a week, let people enjoy the game. Don't bash the game. Don't bash Proly. Wait, Proly? Who heard of the game? What? Okay, I don't know what you're trying to say, because at the end of the day, Pikachu is better than. Well, okay, no. Okay, there's a lot of Detective Pikachu going on right now. It's interesting. So competitive metas in a nutshell. Pokemon literally spend years making team forgetting that hacks can literally destroy any team. RNG rules. Smash Bros. The town and city platforms don't move with hazards off, so we need to ban it. Overwatch TMOs. What? I don't know what he's saying. This is off. I'm trying to understand what the comment section is saying here. But either way, so let's go review an assured balancing act for fans old and new. There and Marowak again. Oh boy. Pokemon Switch debut definitely toes the line between returning fans and all new ones, with a few small wobbles along the way. Over time, Pokemon games have developed themselves a bit of a conundrum. These are family games, bright and inviting and unquestionably filled with joy. Yet a lot of their audience, and I can say this because it includes me, is pushing on... is pushing on a bit, which it means is, we're older. It means that every game kicks off with two opposing impulses, at once trying to welcome a new generation and ease them in gently to the 20-year-old whirlpool of systems and rituals, while also giving those 20-year-long fans something worthwhile. Something challenging and something new. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are very obviously designed to solve at least one half of the problem. I suspect Game Freak's ideal outcome is the old Pokemon veteran playing Let's Go in co-op on the sofa alongside your freshly hatched little one, spotting the differences between the past and present Kanto like you're driving through an old hometown and telling the kids that when you were their age, this was all fields. Looking at Let's Go from that perspective, the perspective of a 7-year-old in the backseat, glued to their Nintendo Switch just like you were to that sticky street-lit Game Boy Color, is hard not to fall in love with. Which is understandable, I get it. I just feel like they kind of compromise in certain areas. I've said this before. Removing wild battles just kind of felt like, it was unnecessary. You could have kept those Go mechanics, but just kept wild battles there. I think, honestly, in all fairness, if they had not removed wild battles, I think we would see, like, at least 70% less complaints about these games. Like, I am guaranteeing you that right now. 70% less complaints. Of course, there's still stuff that, that has its issues in these games. For example, my biggest issue is the name of the certain, like, moves, the new moves and whatnot. But beyond that, there will be way less complaints. I think that's the biggest one that people have an issue with, which is the lack of wild battles. But it's fun, and I mean, it's a different game, as long as it doesn't, again, I've said this before, and I think everybody agrees with me and understands me at this point, as long as it doesn't affect next year's game, I think we're all good, guys. I think we're all good, I think we're all fine. I'm not trying to bash these games all the time, a little bit, a little bit, but I'm trying to do my best to, respect these games, and once I've probably played them, then I have the right to give them the slap in the face, or just, like, hey, never mind, you're not supposed to be slapped, I should be slapped for, doubting you, depending on how the outcome is once I play the game, so we're still 2 days away, but either way, there have been plenty of changes, some more successful than others, but none are bigger or more divisive than the complete retooling of the wild Pokemon encounters, one of the 3 essential ingredients of a main series game, alongside the warning puzzles of the overworld and, of course, the battles. Thankfully for Let's Go, its big shakeup is also its best one. Pokemon's old system of battling every wild Pokemon you see and rummaging around in long grass or muddy caves until you found one at random seems deeply old-fashioned by comparison. Being able to see the wild Pokemon around you in the overworld as you can in Let's Go feels like you're finally upgrading your phone from the one you got in 2010 and is working perfectly fine if you just ignore the crashes and the fact that it turns off at around 40% of battery life, or to pick up a more age-appropriate simile for us geriatric fans. I don't even know what these words are. I am too dense. Like realizing you're not supposed to be squinting at anything further than 2 inches from your face, and finally getting some reading glasses. So this is what it's supposed to be like. Oh yeah. Catching in Let's Go has its limitations. Motion controls are compulsory. I can hear you groaning. They are definitely motion controls, by which I mean they are quite fun, and surprisingly satisfying with the regular rumbles of the Joy-Con or Pokeball Plus, but also prone to causing unnecessary unintentional frustration. The occasional ball throw flailing off wildly to one side, maybe because of something you did or maybe not. It's easy to see kids struggling to get grips with it at first, but then accompanying seniors can always drop in instantly to help catch in co-op. And it's equally easy to see them master it like they've apparently mastered your smartphone and tablet, probably advanced coding of some kind, while you're still grumbling something about D-pads and achy elbows. I played Let's Go docked for the most part, using both the Pokeball Plus and Joy-Cons. They both feel surprisingly satisfying and unsurprisingly clumsy, more fun but less reliable than catching in handheld. Quirks of motion controls aside, the new catching system actually has plenty to offer for both sets of players. It shifts the emphasis of the games back towards collecting. It's not ashamed to admit I'm not ashamed to admit I've let out more than one excited squeal at the surprise rare spawn in an otherwise drab spot just outside town. It also does something I forgot I needed, which is reintroduce the needs for more type of Pokeballs. Players who like to catch every Pokemon in the base Pokeball in the past games as kind of self-inflicted masochism, oh boy, may well find that unworkable in Let's Go. All wild Pokemon have a chance of fleeing, so you can't sit there throwing low-chance balls at them all day, especially if they're a rare spawn as well. Likewise, catching has been retooled as a part of training. All catches grant XP to Pokemon and your party, and it's probably the best way to level up your team too, ahead of battling, meaning that you need to be more strategic about how you use your particular catching item and when. You might want to build up a catch combo, a streak of catching the same species several times in a row to grind XP, candy, or item rewards, but then you might also want to save your better equipment for catching the rarer Pokemon that spawns after you get that streak successfully. It's easy to get lost in the weeds regarding the impact, what impacts what. This new way of distributing XP makes it easier to level up your team evenly, but much harder to bring one lower level Pokemon up to speed. For instance, but the end result of the new wild encounters and catching is this: more surprise, more control, more fun, and above all, it just makes more sense to be in a mysterious other world and to actually see the experience and see and experience the creatures that live there. Fair enough, but I feel like the EXP share should be an optional thing. I feel like, you know, as long as there's an off button, I think everybody would be fine with it. Again, if there was just an off button, that would be great, because when you have EXP share on, there is no purpose to ever use your other Pokemon. You can just use one Pokemon, which I've seen people do. This is the biggest issue I've seen from the gameplay, is that people seem to be just using their starter Pokemon. For example, Eevee is broken in this game, apparently. Getting those special moves like VV Volley and Sizzly Slide, those moves together with that Eevee with, you know, just like its stats is broken. I mean, I've seen literally people sweeping with just Eevee. They didn't need to use any other Pokemon. Maybe in like certain situations, they tried, you know, I saw somebody using like he has a Charmeleon right here. I saw somebody using a Charmeleon and whatnot, because I guess they switched out Sizzly Slide, which is a fire type move, for something else. And, you know, it's just kind of iffy, if I'm going to be honest. Unlike the catching mechanic, the world itself has reimagined remarkably unchanged, bearing the slight retooling of a route here or there towards the second half of the game. I have a particularly joyful one in mind that I won't spoil. Kanto has been left pretty much exactly as it was, and I was pleasantly surprised by just how involved it can still be. Pokemon Let's Go's dungeons, in their various above and below ground forms, are still highly demanding of your concentration and time, especially if you want to uncover all their secrets without a guide. All the old favorite warp pads, travelators, boulder puzzles, and more are still present and correct, and still devilishly frustrating if you don't afford them the proper care. Unlike those visible wild Pokemon again, this is something that's already known to be missing from the main series in recent years, even down to the head-scratching approaches to some gyms. There's an argument to be had over how they affect Let's Go's pacing, especially in the largest, most time-consuming areas of Kanto, admittedly stodgy, slow middle section, but young players won't notice, and old ones will relish the challenge. The return of the environmental puzzles is an unequivocally welcome one. I appreciate that. Yeah, puzzles have always been great. I'm all good with that. Thank you. But the thing is, it's Kanto, so for the most part, we kind of know where most things are. But you know, hey, if there are new puzzles, I'll take it. The same but more surprisingly can be said of Let's Go's old school approach to battling. Gone are the held items, abilities, Z moves, and most Mega Evolutions, and likewise was just the original Gen 1 Pokedex to play with. Gone are breeding and most instances of the later Gen Pokemon types and attacks too. When I say surprisingly, I do mean it, because put it like that, and it would make sense to not expect Let's Go to work, at least not after the years of accumulative systems and intricacies that are involved in the battle system now. But it does work, in large part because in moment-to-moment Pokemon, questing across a region to the Pokemon League and whatever lies beyond, many of those systems just don't really come into play. I don't agree with that. Especially on those Gen 1 Pokemon. Well, that's true. Okay, with Gen 1 Pokemon, that doesn't come into play. IVs, EVs, all that stuff. You didn't really think about that stuff back in, like, you know, that wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really a present issue, right? It wasn't a thing you thought about. Competitive play was present, but it wasn't as big of a deal, right? So in that sense, I get it. But at the same time, also, we've moved to a different, you know, we've moved so far away from that at this point, right? I mean, hey, if you were to go with the argument that this is a Gen 1 game, so, they'll have Gen 1 mechanics, then you instantly, disqualify. I'm not saying that they're saying it here in this review, but people have been saying this before. Then you're instantly disqualifying your own thing you're saying there, because one, the Gen 1 games in the past did not have Mega Evolutions. They didn't have Go catching mechanics. They didn't have, oh boy, what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't have brand new moves. They had HMs and not like these secret techniques, right? It's kind of like you can't disqualify it by just saying it's Kanto, so because it's Kanto, and in the past Kanto, there was none of these things, so it's okay for them to not be here. That's a really, it's a false equivalence. Anyway, so, but it does work, large part because, retro-fitted with those abilities and moves after the fact. There's an occasional moment where you remember they're missing, forgetting you can put a primate to sleep again. Now it's back without its vital spirit, for instance. But there's few and far between, and those systems were just so rarely necessary in the main story playthrough that their absence barely registers. If you needed your Pokemon to hold items and rely on abilities in the past, you're probably making the mistakes in how you battled anyway. Oh boy, no. I get what you're trying to get across here, but you can't say people were wrong for using the systems that were in the game meant to be used. You're just straight up wrong there. Unless you got it, you put it you put it a wrong way, then fair enough. But this is just, in all honesty, this is just genuinely wrong to me. What are you saying here? You're probably making mistakes in how you battle anyways. If you needed Pokemon to hold your items and rely on abilities in the past, how are you playing wrong? It's an essential part of the game. I don't know, either way. Battling feels refreshingly decluttered, but it's hard to predict its impact on the competitive scene or if there will be one. Eevee training also makes a return, now in the form of giving Pokemon certain candy, earned from catching wild Pokemon, again shifting the weight back to collecting over battle. There's always the counter that said abilities in particular make certain Pokemon what they are, imagining a Mimikyu without its disguise, for instance, but then the only Pokemon in Let's Go are, again, the 151. In other words, the characters were already plenty strong enough without those added elements needed to enhance them. The game undoubtedly has flaws, perhaps the greatest of which, believe it or not, being its choice of art style, smooth and shallow. Okay, straight from the incoherent, juxtaposed fashions of Pokemon Go and the awkward world of AR, that sits in painful contrast to the steering vision of the fellow Switch contemporaries like Breath of the Wild. I mean, yeah, people have been complaining about the graphics, saying that, we have games like Breath of the Wild, then you get this, which is kind of rigid. I still like the graphics, though. I still think they're they're supposed to be child-friendly and whatnot. I get it. I'm fine with that. But again, this is why I don't have a problem with the graphics, because I'm assuming we're getting a better game next year. They Ishihara said we're getting a better game next year, so I trust Ishihara. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so has a remarkable ability to entirely and consistently miss the many finer points of Pokemon itself. One of which being that this is a game built around its art, from its card to its anime to its game, even in the confines of two-color graphics back in the day, where necessity breed a creativity in the art of Red and Blue. Importing Pokemon Go's visual style has the sole effect of stripping Kanto, one of gaming's greatest worlds, of all its most evocative texture, like someone's blended up your favorite childhood meal and forced you to drink it out of one of those plastic Huel tankards. Yikes. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, essentially, to put it simply, his only problem mainly here is just the graphics of the Pokemon not matching well with the world, which, yeah, I think I kind of made that apparent a while back when I talked about the graphics of the Pokemon specifically, because they are using the models from Pokemon Go, right? And those models, I guess, were meant to be reused in the future and whatnot, but I agree, they just kind of I guess in some areas they just don't match well, but I think they've done it well enough to the point where it's fine, right? I think it's kind of sad that they had to just reuse stuff and not make a brand new set of, textures at least for the Pokemon to make them fit even better with the world, but that's okay, it's not a big deal. So, in general, it seems like most people are okay with the game, happy with the game, whatnot. I will have my review up when I play the game. I'll be live streaming the whole thing on YouTube. for you guys in just 2 days from now. On the 15th, I'll be live on YouTube with Let's Go Eevee. So yeah, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like down below. And yeah, that's just the reviews, guys. Sorry for this video being super long. I thought I was only going to do this one, you know, this one here from Poke Jungle. I thought I was going to only talk about these, but it ended up being longer than I thought. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts about these reviews? What do you feel about them? Does this make you want to buy the games? Does this make you not want to buy the games? Like, what are your thoughts and opinions? I want to know. And just please, you know, if you made it this far in, just do hashtag, I don't know, hashtag let's go in the chat, or something like that, right? Or in the comment section, because a lot of people would just be watching the start of the video, hear some of my negative thoughts, and just leave, even though I'm trying to still be objective here and say the good parts about the game, because I think, you know, he's right about the graphics, you know, kind of being a little bit iffy, but I think, generally speaking, I think they're good. I think he's somewhat wrong here, because I think, you know, they match well. Look at them, right? They match well into the world. Kind of a little bit weird that they're just kind of walking around randomly like this, but I think it matches with the gameplay style, and the world and the characters look great together. It's not the perfect graphics. I think it's fine for what the game is, and of course, we're waiting for the next game next year. So, you know, I have my positive aspects, I have my negative aspects about these games. Anyway, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all the next time. Have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.